So here we are, 10 Tammuz, Ayom Yom. In the early period of his leadership, the Alter Rebbe taught as follows. He quotes a verse in Tillim. The verse says, "The footsteps of man are directed by God." And he comments, when a Jew comes to a particular place, every place you're going is directed by God. So it is for an inner divine intent and purpose. To perform a mitzvah, both a mitzvah between man and God and a mitzvah between man and his fellow man. A Jew is God's messenger. Whenever a messenger, a shliach, wherever he may be, embodies the power of the mishaleach, the one who sends him. The superior quality that souls possess, higher than the angels. Angels are also messengers of Hashem. Particularly, they bring our prayers up to Hashem and bring Hashpah flows down from Hashem. So they are messengers. What the particular advantage that souls, who are also messengers have over angels, is that souls are messengers by virtue of the Torah. And what that means is the Torah, one of the things that the Zohar says about the Torah is Histaklu be'araisa, Hashem gazed into the Torah and Bora Olam, and created worlds. So the Torah, as it were, proceeds or is deeper in God's consciousness than all worlds. Angels represent more external levels of God's consciousness. They represent particularly his practical midos. For instance, Raphael. He's Raphael. He is expressing the attribute of healing. Gabriel represents the attribute of Hashem's Gevurah. Whereas the soul, the Jew represents the essence of God himself. And that's what we're here for, to represent God and to learn how. Lessons in Tanya. We're starting chapter 3 on page 1023. And in Lakuti Amorim, we're here on page Sadik Beis. Okay, remember our topic for the time being is fasting. And the fundamental point is fasting is not Tshuva. Tshuva is a decision in the heart and a movement, doing something to return back to God by performing positive mitzvahs and regretting on the past and decision to action on the future. That's Tshuva. To return, to bring oneself back into alignment with Hashem. And then we spoke, most recently, Erev Shabbos, about another aspect, another level entirely, which is after you return to Hashem and you're aligned with him, to give him a gift, to really express now your gratitude for him and your decision not to separate yourself from him again by giving him a gift. That's the language he uses in Aramaic, a gift. And that gift is the fast that we undertake voluntarily. So there's the Tshuva, and then there's the gift. He uses the example of a soldier or an officer of the king who performs his duty. In other words, that's alignment with what God, the king, wants. And had he been disaligned, he comes back into alignment and serves Hashem, the king, faithfully. And then to get back into the loving relationship and the good graces, he brings the king a gift. And that's the fasting. Today we're going to speak briefly about a methodology that was established by the Kabbalists in terms of if you want to bring that gift to Hashem and put a big smile on his face, how many fasts do you do? And for particular averos. We're going to concentrate just on one example today. Okay, Perek Gimel. V'hine hachmei ha-musar, the wise men of Musar. This goes back to the 15th and 1500s and 1600s. The hachmei ha-musar, achoroinim, the later ones. Nechluku, they were of different opinions. What if you do one particular sin many times, right? How do you figure, and now you've decided, you've done Tshuva now, and now you want to bring that gift. How do you decide how much, what's the gift going to be? So you did one sin many times. There are those who say there's a difference of opinion amongst the Chachmei HaMusar, the original Musarniks, so to speak, way before the 19th century, back in the 17th and 18th century. So one opinion is that you should fast the number of fasts which are equal to the number of times that you did the sin. Pamim rabos, kefi hamisper ashechet, according to the number of times that you've sinned. Kigayin, he gives an example. Hamoitze zera levatala, one who gives out seed in vain. Shemisper hatsoimes hamafurish betekuning teshuva, which the number of fasts for that, as specified in Tekunet Tshuva, Rizal, from your Rizal, right, way back in the 1600s, and pay dollar. It says the number for that, Zerah Levatala, one time, the number of fasts is pay dollar, which is 84. 84 tinies. Vim chot bezet eser, and if, let's say, you did the same sin 10 times, or esrim, or 20 times, esrim pamim, al derek mashal, by way of an example. So, tzorek lehisanus, you have to fast eser or esrim pamim, pay dollar, 10 or 20 times 84. And this is true for any sin. Whatever is prescribed as the number of fasts, and if you've done it that many times, it's the number of fast times, however many times you've done it. Dumiyah de korban, and where is this from? This is rooted in the way that we brought korbanos in the Holy Temple. There's a korban chatos, the korban that you bring for an unintentional sin. Shechayev lehevi al kol pam v'pam. And the halacha there is that each time you do that sin, you have to bring another korban. That's one opinion. V'yesh medamin inyan zeh korban oila. And there are those who look at it like a korban oila. An oila is an offering that's not brought multiple times. Habo al mitzvahs aseh. If you over transgress a positive mitzvah more than once, you bring a korban oila, but you bring one. Even if you transgress many positive mitzvahs, you're atoned for by one korban. And this is brought in Gemara, Perakama, the Zavachim. You can look in the Gemara and find the halacha of the Gemara. The Hachroa HaMukobelis and the compromise that we've received between these two, one for every time or one time, a compromise that we have received, Hamukobelis, Bezeh, in this idea, Lisanis Gimel Pamim. So the compromise that's brought is to do it 3 times as a chazaka, right? So 3 times and you've accomplished what you're trying to do. So in this case, it would be 3 times 84. And he gives that as an example. If he misperhat saimes v'chedzeh, so 3 times. The hainu reish nun beis, which is 252, reish nun beis, which is 3 times 84, for the sin that we talked about. So you would fast 252 fasts. Al hatzois on this particular seed, this particular sin of seed in vain. And similarly by other sins. Tammuz, why 3? Why not 1? Why not 10? Why 3? 3 times. Tammuz, the reason for the 3 is according to what's written in the Holy Zohar, Seif Parshas Noach, at the end of Parshas Noach. Since the person is obligated, has sinned in front of the Holy One, blessed be He. one time. So one time, Zmina Chada, one time, the first time, Avidu Shima, it makes a stain. And this whole idea of stains, by the way, there's this idea that we're talking about, degrees of staining the soul, comes from Gemara Nida. Gemara Nida, which is talking about the stains on a piece of cloth from the menstrual cycle. So one time, there leaves a trace on the cloth. Zimna Talitor, and the third time, the stain spreads through and through. Ispachitahu ketama misitra dor lesitra dor. This stain comes through from one side to another. So there's a permanence. And it's brought actually in this forum, the three times is a chazaka. So doing the sin three times can bring you to a place of sort of taking for granted that, okay, this is part of me now. I'm part of that. So therefore, three is the compromise. Not every time and not one time, but three, because three is the time that gives the stain a durability, so to speak. It soaks through. Therefore, sort of mispatzimis gimel gamkein gimel pamim. Therefore, the stain, the fast also have to be three times. And that's a short today, Tanya. And what do we have from this? Well, first of all, one thing we can say from this is this notion of a chazaka, that if a person does fall, loyaleno, into some negative behavior, disaligned behavior, you should know just simply, it's easier to turn that around if you catch it at the beginning and not continue in it. And it just will get more difficult. And so it's easier to watch your step, having taken one step than taking three steps. What else? Anybody? Any questions?
Does intermittent fasting count?
Right.
Intermittent fasting. If you don't eat till 12 and you stop eating at 6.
Yeah, he'll speak about that later. Yeah, that's very good. He speaks about doing half days, which can count as fast. Also, he'll speak later about doing this in the days when the days are short, in the wintertime. So yes, intermittent fasting, is considered as we'll learn this a little bit. This goes on for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to do this for a little bit for the next day or two, this particular piece on this fasting. And interesting that we have a fast day coming up, right? We'll see you tomorrow. Give me a session. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.